Cheers is where everyone knows your name, and on the flip side, everyone knows Cheers. Sam Malone, the womanizing ex-baseball player, Diane Chambers, the pretentious intellectual, Norm, Cliff, Carla. It's embedded in pop culture forever. But here's what most people don't realize. The show is failing. It's hard to believe, but NBC executives were writing its obituary after just one season. But then came a moment, call it divine intervention, that saved it, and it kicked off one of the most memorable and transformative runs in entertainment history. This is the story of Cheers, and the massive ripple effect most people don't know about. Let's go back to January 1980. Brandon Tartikoff became president of NBC Entertainment at age 31, the youngest person ever to hold that position, and he inherited an absolute disaster. NBC was in dead last behind ABC and CBS, and the network's future was genuinely uncertain. It had only 3 primetime shows in the top 20, Little House on the Prairie, Different Strokes, and Real People. Affiliates were defecting to ABC. Johnny Carson was reportedly in talks to move The Tonight Show. The entire cast and writers of Saturday Night Live had left, and their replacements were savaged by critics. The network's financial situation was declining to a point that a New York Times writer pointed out NBC's parent company, RCA, could earn a better return by selling the network and putting the money into a savings account. Yeah, it was bad. And Tartikoff's first season only added salt to the wound. He greenlit Hill Street Blues in January 1981. Critics loved it, but audiences didn't. It finished 87th out of 96 shows in its first season. By summer 1981, NBC president Fred Silverman was out. Grant Tinker, the respected producer behind MTM Productions, took over. Everyone expected Tinker to fire the young Tartikoff. Instead, he doubled down on him. Tinker's philosophy was simple and would, as you'll see in this video, impact television forever. First be best, then be first. Essentially, choose quality, and ratings will come. That philosophy would be tested immediately. During the 81-82 season, NBC didn't have a show in the Nielsen Top 20, and by fall 1982, the pressure was crushing. The season before, all 9 new series Tartikoff introduced had failed. Speculation was rife that he had maybe 6 months to turn things around, or he was done, and so he put all his eggs in the quality basket. For fall 1982, Tartikoff and Tinker greenlit several shows that exemplified their quality-first philosophy: St. Elsewhere, Family Ties, and Remington Steele. But the most important show in that lineup was a half-hour comedy about a Boston bar called Cheers. Cheers was created by Glenn Charles, Les Charles, and James Burrows, who had worked together on Taxi, one of the most critically acclaimed comedies of the late 1970s. Burrows had started his directing career on The Mary Tyler Moore Show in 1974 and was hired by Grant Tinker himself. He'd directed 76 episodes of Taxi. The Charles brothers had been writers and producers on it. Now they wanted to create their own show and own a piece of it. Their casting philosophy was unusual for a network comedy. They rejected the idea of casting a big star and sought actors who were previously unknown to the public. They interviewed almost 1,000 people for the 4 principal roles: Sam Malone, Diane Chambers, Carla Tortelli, and Coach Ernie Pantuso. Before the final decision, 3 pairs of actors were tested for Sam and Diane: Ted Danson and Shelley Long, Fred Dreyer and Julia Duffy, and William Devane and Lisa Eichhorn. The chemistry between Long and Danson was so apparent it secured them the roles immediately. The supporting cast, George Wendt, Rhea Perlman, Nicholas Colasanto, and John Ratzenberger, were even less known to television audiences. Cheers premiered on September 30th, 1982. The pilot episode, Give Me a Ring Sometime, introduced viewers to the bar, the characters, and the central will-they-won't-they tension between Sam and Diane. Critics praised the series as intelligent, sophisticated, cleverly written, well-cast, and well-timed. So they had the quality part down, but the audience didn't show up. In its first week, Cheers finished 77th out of 100 shows. Week after week, the numbers stayed terrible. There was no momentum, no growth, no sign that audiences were finding the show. The overnight ratings were brutal. NBC had spent an entire development season and promotional budget on a show nobody was watching. By early 1983, Cheers looked dead in the water. By the time the first season ended in March 1983, the verdict was in. Cheers ended its first season as the 4th lowest-rated show for the 1982-83 season. It's hard to imagine. The legendary Cheers almost dead last in the ratings. NBC was still in crisis, still had no shows in the top 20, affiliates were still defecting, and Tartikoff had a tough decision to make. Every conventional programming instinct said, cancel Cheers, replace it with something, anything that might actually get ratings. But yet, the show had critical acclaim. The quality was there, and with that in mind, Tartikoff made what I would argue to be one of the most consequential decisions in television history. He renewed Cheers for a second season. Some will say he didn't have other options available to him and therefore, it wasn't a big risk. But to renew a virtually last-place show when your network is fighting for survival, that kind of move takes some real cojones. And his gutsy move would be rewarded. The chain of events that followed is nothing short of miraculous. In late May 1983, NBC began airing reruns of Cheers' first season, and there were signs of life. Let Me Count the Ways was rerun on May 26th and came in 19th out of 63 programs with a 17.4 rating. A show that had finished 74th during its original run was suddenly in the top 20. As summer continued, the rerun numbers got even better. No Contest was rerun on July 14th and tied for 12th place out of 65 programs. Word of mouth was spreading, critics had been raving about it all season, and people who missed it the first time were discovering it in reruns. And then came the news that changed everything. On July 21st, 1983, the Emmy nominations were announced. Cheers received 13 nominations for its first season. 13 for a show that finished 74th in the ratings. The Television Academy was sending a clear message this show was special. In September 1983, Cheers won 5 Emmy Awards, including Outstanding Comedy Series. Brandon Tartikoff had been vindicated. The quality over ratings philosophy worked. The show he saved wasn't just surviving, it was being celebrated as the best comedy on television. It is actually a very similar story to what happened with All in the Family, which also had low ratings after its first season, then won Emmys, then became a ratings juggernaut for 9 seasons. And you'll see as we go just how All in the Family connects to the decisions Tartikoff would make on the heels of Cheers' success. It's actually crazy how connected everything is. Okay, back to Cheers. Its second season, backed by Emmy wins and summer rerun momentum, started strong. By its third season, with The Cosby Show as its lead-in on Thursday nights, Cheers became a ratings powerhouse. The show that was on its last breath ran for 11 seasons. Its series finale in 1993 became the most-watched single TV episode of the 1990s, drawing over 80 million viewers. Nominated for Outstanding Comedy Series for all 11 seasons, it earned 28 Primetime Emmy Awards from a record 117 nominations. Cheers defined workplace comedy for a generation. It proved you could build a show around an ensemble cast with no major stars. It established the template for hangout sitcoms, which you'll see in a few minutes had a major impact on the shows you know and love. Speaking of legacy, let's start with the direct offshoot. Frasier, the spin-off starring Kelsey Grammer, ran for 11 seasons and won 37 Emmy Awards, making it one of the most awarded comedy series in television history. What makes the dominance of the Frasier spin-off truly mind-boggling is realizing just how close we came to never seeing the character survive the 80s. You have to remember that on Cheers, Frasier wasn't designed to be a regular barfly. He was brought in for a measly 6-episode arc solely to play the boring rebound guy Diane dates just to make Sam jealous. He was a disposable plot device with an expiration date explicitly written to be unlikable so the audience would cheer when he eventually got dumped. Instead, Kelsey Grammer was so magnetic that he not only survived the axe but anchored a sitcom empire that lasted 2 decades. It is wild to think that if the Cheers writers had just stuck to their original script, the most successful spin-off in television history would have never existed. But beyond spin-offs, the show's impact is staggering. Cheers didn't just inspire the shows that followed, it trained them. You look at a juggernaut like Friends. That show doesn't exist without Cheers. In fact, James Burrows, the co-creator of Cheers, stepped behind the camera to direct the pilot of Friends, essentially handing off the baton. And it's reported that he was critical to their chemistry, helping them bond as an ensemble. From How I Met Your Mother's McLaren's Pub to the depravity of It's Always Sunny, any show built around a group of friends doing nothing in a specific location is paying rent to the house that Cheers built. But perhaps the biggest impact of Cheers' survival happened within months of Tartikoff's epic decision. The success of Cheers, the critical acclaim, the Emmy wins, the proof that the quality-first strategy worked, gave Brandon Tartikoff a new life. It gave him the credibility and confidence to make his next big bet. Just wait for this chain reaction. Sometime in late 1983, Brandon Tartikoff was sitting at home, probably exhausted, watching The Tonight Show. On screen, Bill Cosby was doing a monologue, not about politics or celebrity gossip, but about the relatable, everyday chaos of raising kids and dealing with his wife. In that moment, a light bulb went off. Tartikoff thought, this isn't just a stand-up set. This is a sitcom. Now, you have to understand the context here. In 1983, conventional wisdom in Hollywood wasn't just that sitcoms were struggling, it was that the genre was dead. The charts were dominated by action shows like The A-Team and Magnum P.I. Critics and executives alike were writing eulogies for the half-hour comedy, but Tartikoff had credibility. He had just proven them wrong. If he hadn't saved Cheers, he might have listened to the naysayers. Heck, he might not be employed by NBC. But because he had that win under his belt, he trusted his gut. He pursued Cosby aggressively. He brought in producers Tom Werner and Marcy Carsey. He ignored the "sitcoms are dead" memo and pushed the project through. The Cosby Show premiered in the fall of 1984, and it wasn't just a hit. It was a cultural nuclear bomb. It finished its first season as the #3 show in America. But its real power was in who it brought to the table. It brought the families in at 8 p.m., and because Tartikoff had kept Cheers alive, he had the perfect, sophisticated comedy waiting for the adults at 9 p.m. This was the birth of the Thursday night juggernaut. By the 1985 to 86 season, this lineup was essentially printing money. You had The Cosby Show, Family Ties, Cheers, and Night Court. NBC was so dominant, they even owned Saturday nights with The Golden Girls. Look at the Nielsen ratings for 1986. It's actually hard to believe this was real. Cosby, Family Ties, and Cheers were ranked #1, #2, and #3. The Golden Girls was #5, with Night Court right behind them. NBC didn't just win Thursday nights, they owned the entire culture of television. The Cosby Show spent 4 years at #1 and resurrected the sitcom format from the grave. It propelled NBC to be the most watched network for 6 consecutive years. And if we go further down the rabbit hole of Tartikoff's decisions, just look at what The Cosby Show led to. First, you have the direct spin-off, A Different World. It didn't just follow Denise Huxtable to college, it transformed the cultural conversation around HBCUs, driving enrollment numbers up in the real world. It proved that a show about black education and young adulthood could be a massive hit. Then, look at the broader culture. Cosby accelerated the depiction of black excellence on television. Now, to be fair, this movement was really kick-started a decade earlier by the Jeffersons and the genius of Norman Lear. And it is interesting how history repeats itself here. The Jeffersons was a spin-off of All in the Family, a show that, just like Cheers, survived solely because the network prioritized quality over initial ratings. The Cosby Show took that baton from Norman Lear and sprinted with it, proving to advertisers that affluent, successful black families were a ratings powerhouse. That path leads directly to The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air in the 90s and Blackish today. And finally, Cosby changed the way networks built shows. Before this, you hired actors. After Tartikoff saw Cosby do stand-up, the networks started hiring comedians. This is the model that gave us Roseanne, Home Improvement, and Seinfeld. Think about that lineage, the black excellence of A Different World and Fresh Prince, the comedian-led revolution of the 90s, the dominance of NBC. All of those dominoes were lined up waiting to fall, but they only fell because of that one singular decision in 1983. The decision to save a failing bar in Boston.